statement to the board on an item which is not on the agenda, please signify by raising your hand in the Zoom function. And you will have 3 minutes to make your comments to the board. And I'll ask Mr. Bailey to let me know how many hands we have out there, if any.
Mr. President, you have 3 speakers at this point. The first speaker is Frank E.
All right. Frank, unmute yourself. You have the floor.
Am I unmuted at this point?
Yes, go right ahead. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Norris. So I'm a little confused. I don't understand why the agenda item's been removed, number one. And my understanding from the last special meeting that administration was going to work on negotiating a contract with Power Wellness to bring back to the board. So can we get more information about what's going on and why there's been no progress? And further, I would say that, you know, the target was an April 1 deadline. So is that being discarded? Because my understanding is this is a time sensitive process and we need to move fast to get there by April 1. So without a contract, nothing can start. And, you know, is the intention to delay this further beyond April 1? I think, you know, for the benefit of those that were expecting to hear something about this, we'd appreciate a little bit of an update as to why this has been taken off the agenda and why we're not moving forward. We've got employees that are in limbo that think that maybe they're losing their jobs April 1. The communication on this has been absolutely abysmal, and I don't understand what's going on. I mean, it would be helpful to us if we could get some kind of feedback from the trustees or administration. Thank you.
I'll ask the Chancellor to comment at this time. There have been some changes in the situation which have required us to do this.
Sure, I'm happy to report, and this is actually a development that just occurred. We actually were in touch with representatives from Power Wellness and on our way to the contract negotiation, which we think if the board, if that's still the board's wish, that's the way we'll go. We have received a formal letter of protest from the other vendor, and we really, at the advice of our counsel, can't start contract negotiations until we get direction from the board. It's a potential legal matter, and we would have that direction in closed session. And that really literally just occurred this week.
Thank you, Chancellor. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more information. We have a new situation. We need to discuss that with counsel for the district, and then we'll be able to proceed accordingly. Next hand, Mr. Bailey.
Mr. President, your next speaker is Monica Malamud.
All right. Ms. Malamud, you are up. If you go right ahead, we can hear you.
Good evening. So I am Monica Malamud, and I have been teaching Spanish at Cañada since the year 2000. I am the incoming president of AFT 1493, our faculty union, and I have been a member of the negotiating team for the last 8 years. It has been exactly 2 years since AFT started negotiating for a new contract. So far, we have reached agreements on a number of important items, such as binding arbitration, workload, and investigations, as well as agreeing on 3 essential MOUs. However, now that negotiations has reached the last remaining item to settle the contract, that is compensation, the district team has not agreed to a regular schedule of bargaining sessions and has canceled many of our set dates. In fact, since October 22nd, the district has only met with AFT's negotiators twice, once on December 8th and once on January 8th. We did not meet even once in November. AFT has consistently tried to bring district negotiators to the table, offering multiple dates to schedule meetings, only to hear that they were unavailable, that they could not negotiate because they had not been given necessary authority or direction from the Board of Trustees. As a member of the negotiations team, I spoke at board meeting in December, urging the district negotiations team to meet regularly. The situation has not improved much since then. The district's negotiation team has only met with us once on January 8th. And as soon as that meeting ended, we were told that the next negotiating date would be sometime in February. We are holding January 19th for negotiation session, and we do hope that the district's team will be ready to continue negotiations at that point and to move forward with regular sessions in order to finally settle this contract. More and more of our members are voicing their frustration at how long it has taken to settle this contract. We must have a commitment from the district negotiating team for a regular negotiating schedule. And for that to happen, the board needs to be diligent and systematic about giving proper directions to their team in a timely manner. This needs to be a priority. In order to settle this contract without further delays, we need your commitment. Thank you.
Mr. Bailey?
Mr. President, your next speaker is Sean Parisho.
All right, Mr. Precia.
Hi, my name is
Hello.
Sean Parisho, and I am a full-time faculty member of the psychology department at Skyline. I primarily focus on teaching quantitative reasoning and research methods, so I like numbers very much. I'm going to be referencing some of these in a minute here. But that being said, I understand that the more I talk about numbers, the less I tend to get invited to dinner parties. So I'm going to keep this as brief and concise as possible. In many ways, the district budget is an objective and empirical measure of its priorities. So to that aim, I would like to very quickly summarize some trends in the budget over the last few years. The data I'm going to talk about will extend through to the 2019-2020 school year, which is the most recent year that much of this data was available for. Starting with good news, the district revenues have increased 83% over the last decade. And this is in part due to our status as basic aid and the stability that provides. And furthermore, the district has consistently underestimated revenues and overestimated expenditures. In 2019, for example, this gap was $36 million. So revenues exceeded expenditures by over actually $36 million. So in short, the state of the SMCCCD budget is healthy, especially in comparison to other districts in the state. Now, that health is reflected to some degree in the trajectory of our administrative salaries. Between 2012 and 2019, for example, chancellor and vice chancellor salaries increased by an average of 90%. Unfortunately, though, this effect has failed to trickle down. Faculty salaries only increased by an average of 27.5% in comparison over that same period. Additionally, classified and academic administrator salaries ranked first, number one in the Bay 10 between 2017 and 2019, while academic part-time salaries ranked between 7th and 9th out of 10 over the same period. And actually, it's worth noting that SMCCD administrators were not only first in the Bay 10, but first in the entire state of California over that period. So the data I have up here on my profile picture is just a very brief snippet that I could fit in, illustrating some of that, the ranking issue there, right? It compares part-time faculty compensation for a 3-unit class between SMCCD and other nearby districts, specifically step 5, so a master's degree plus 15 is the comparative step there. And so that's just a very brief amount of time. I tried to streamline the picture, but it's important to note that budget and salaries are very complex and nuanced. And these numbers are difficult to do justice to and compare directly. Part-time, full-time, admin all have very different salary structures. AFT, the union, would like to address these figures in more detail in a future agenda item. And in closing, briefly, faculty, both full-time and part-time, are the contact point between our district and our community. We are the faces that these students see when they come to class every day. However, these figures show that objectively, faculty are not prioritized in a way that reflects the role they play in this district's success and the success of our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Mr. Bailey.
President, your next speaker is Sam Chung.